So, is there anything in particular you want to talk about for the recording that you might not want to do for Thursday, or like anything you want to discuss? Is there?
Well, I mean, different things will probably pop back up Thursday.
Sure.
So, I mean, a lot of this is repetitive, but you know, at the same time, some different things are pressing, and you know, yet again, been discussing many things for what 3 years in your case. So,
Yeah, no point taken.
yeah, just a coincidence theorist with all the MICA regulation and stuff that's now being looked at, and it's like no shit, we you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only thing that I think is interesting about it as well is that I seem to be in such small company of people that noticed it.
Well, and right now you look at Gary Gensler. I mean, you know, here we have the we have Congress actually begging Gary to comply, and
With a spot
again,
ETF, right?
it's like, do you wish to go down in history as being investigated? I mean, you know, because the SEC is about to get investigated now over this.
Yeah, of course they
Well,
are.
it's like it's just
But I'll
theater
tell you
going
one.
on.
But I'll tell you what. It's a theater. Exactly. Thank you for saying that, because they already agreed with the EU on what they want to do. So it's just to create like a leverage against the American public to say,
distraction.
hey, look, yeah, but also like, hey, look, we know what we're doing. Like, we're actually doing this by the book and professionally, and stuff like that. So it's just it's a mind fuck.
And then, like, you know, the Bitcoin space, you know, or spaces on Twitter, and they're fucking clueless. They're thinking, oh, it's America only. It's like, no, Bitcoin encompasses the globe.
Yeah, not only that,
This is
not only that. Yeah, for sure. But it's like I was in a Bitcoin space of Max Kaiser on Telegram. He has a Bitcoin space, a maximalist space. I joined it. I have like this EU flag on my profile, and they were just all going at it. Like, oh, how can you be like pro EU and pro Bitcoin, because the two are mutually exclusive, and I should read up and study more. And it's just a testament to show that even in those spaces of Bitcoin maximalists, even with people as prolific as Max Kaiser, mind you, there are 11K people in that group chat, that orange pill chat, is that even among them, it's like they're married to their bag. They're only looking at things through their own perspective, just like with altcoins. And it doesn't make them any better to say, I'm holier than thou. There's only one thing that can save the whole world, and that is Bitcoin. It might be true, but it's not where we're going to go overnight. We're not going to abolish the entire system of governance and currency to say, well, let's switch over to Bitcoin. Even with a Bitcoin hyper Bitcoinization, if you would onboard like the entire public minus the Bitcoiners with like an onboarding strategy, 99% of society would adopt the CBDC and not Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin might be better, but it doesn't mean it's going to be adopted. And it's just something that these people don't understand, that in order to cooperate and get your way, you kind of have to, incorporate it into the system. You kind of have to apply yourself, that maybe you should take responsibility as a citizen, if you know it all so much better than the rest, to actually apply for government. So from that perspective, I think you can be both pro EU and both pro Bitcoin. But it just goes to show that they think that 750 million inhabitants of the EU all think alike. It's just such a, it's and then they all full of assumptions, saying I should study up on the laws in Brussels, as if I'm not aware of what the EU is doing or proclaiming. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous to assume all of that based on the fact that I have a small flag in my profile account. I didn't even instigate the whole conversation, so I was just like, well, thank you for your opinion, and
Right.
it's just,
It almost becomes too stupid to be stupid.
yeah, it's almost
It's just like
satirical.
Wow.
Yeah, but they're trying to aggravate me for a response, and they're not getting it.
Well,
And
and
it, I
also
think,
the what I would say the disconnect there with a lot of people in Bitcoin is that Bitcoin cannot do the things that other coins are capable of.
yeah, and
It's not
even with
possible.
right, and that is both its strength and its weakness. I don't think that there is one protocol that fits all. There might be those protocols might be interconnected, and then it might be, but you would still need different blockchains for different aspects of society. And
Exactly.
it's just because there's a different transactionary, there's a different economic model behind certain businesses that require different specifications of monetary interaction. There is monetary interaction that needs to be quick. There's monetary interaction that needs to be completely decentralized. There's monetary structures that might be needing a proof of consensus or a proof of stake instead of a proof of work. So it's just the sheer audacity to think that one size fits all. I think is going to be the downfall of a lot of Bitcoiners when they're getting very disappointed by the fact that when a government decides we're not going to adopt it or adopt it easily, that they're going to be very aggravated by the fact that the price won't move based on the fact that no one will use it or allow it to be used. And I think that that's kind of a pity because I actually have a warm heart for what Bitcoin represents, but it's just I think most of the crowd, just like everywhere else, is just as stupid and just as ignorant and just as much looking through one lens. And I don't want to state that I'm holier than thou or anything, but it just I think it's worthwhile to entertain different perspectives and not thinking that you know it all. But like it seems to be very difficult, and I think compliance and legislation is a huge part of the next bull run. And I've said that 2.5 years ago because everyone is always looking at the angle like, what is this bull run going to be about? Is it about DeFi? Is it about NFTs? Is it about Web3? Is it about AI? And I personally think before all of that, it's actually compliance. It's actually compliance and intellectual property first, and then it's going to the fundamentals and where the fundamentals actually make sense in society. So is the first thing we should do NFTs? No, it isn't. It's not the first thing we should do. NFTs are nice to adopt people, but it's the use case of
Well,
adoption. It's not
well,
it's
I
not the
have a
use
little
case.
difference of opinion there. I think that the NFTs were needed to learn how to do more on NFTs, but
Yeah,
I mean,
because of adopt
for the
because of
use
adoption.
case of for the use case
Yep.
of like to be
No,
a
I don't
Bitcoin
want to. I don't want to dismiss the fact that NFTs are a part of the whole atmosphere or ecosystem. I mean, that's fair. But if you prioritize things, and you're like, what is the most important thing to focus on? Like, what narratives after compliance, legislation, intellectual property? I think you should go and look at fundamentals because as compliance hits, institutional money can come in because it's ingrained in society. So the actual technology gets adopted. So it gets adopted by the big players first. And after that, you want to get retailing. And for that, you like to use NFTs. But if you look at where institutional money is gonna put their money in, then it's going to be in assets that they deem valued based on their fundamentals. And then you're going to look at like what chains actually offer fundamental value and utility for real life applications. And I think that that's where we should put our money. I think the actual coins that have been repressed for at least some of them, even from 2013-14, like Ripple, XRP, but even also coins from 2017, which I would argue is also Litecoin, but also like Digibyte, and I would argue that those type of coins, but also other coins which have been filed a lawsuit by the SEC, which is like Ethereum with the SEC versus Wahi. It's the LCX exchange. I think it's also Library. I think it's also Dragon Chain. And if you look at Dragon Chain, and if you look at Digibyte, I also and LCX, I come up with Threefold. And if you look at Veritasium from an intellectual property right, or like Bitcoin Satoshi Vision with Nchain with Greg Wright. If you look at, I think it was Compound, which also has a few intellectual property rights, and like Coinbase probably has a few as well now with BlackRock. I think if you look at BlackRock and you could look at Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, you also have a fourth coin with Bitcoin Cash, which is compliant. And if you look at those projects through that lens, then I think that that's already like a fair group of coins or tokens that I don't want to say it's a safe bet, but if you would want to put your money anywhere in the space, it probably makes sense to do it there. What do you think?
They're within all the on and off ramps, and that's why.
Yeah, but like we could look at the ISO 2022 standard, like Stellar or like HBAR and XDC and a few more. But what do you make of that list of coins and tokens I just mentioned?
I agree. I add several more to that. That's like I was speaking with Javier. Might have been earlier today. Yeah, it was earlier today. This morning over coffee, and I'm just thinking about what I was able to do during this last bear market cycle. As far as acquiring more coins, but I went at this this cycle, I went after something different, right? So I got in crypto in 2014. So 2017 and all the way through has been all of these, all kinds of different coins for different reasons, many of the ones that you mentioned. But in addition to that, I went after residual income. Can you
delve a little bit? Can you delve a little bit more into that? Can you delve a little bit more into what do you mean by residual income? And before you answer that, can you just quickly name the coins, tokens, and the projects that you mean?
Then the coins that of what now?
Of the residual income.
Oh, sure. That's easy. I would say the four that I agree with, right? I'm not invested in Cardano, but I do look at Cardano. I mean, when there's a residual income of what, 7%. You can't do that in a CD anymore.
So what else? What are the other tokens or projects?
Okay, the next one is Tezos, again, 7%.
Cardano, Tezos, 7%.
Cardano, Tezos, Persistence, XPRT on the Cosmos ecosystem. So it's like part of I don't know, 15 or 16 different blockchains that all work together. It's all interoperable. And it's really kind of but persistence.
That's a pretty solid. The Cosmos is probably a very
well, and that's the fourth one is Cosmos.
No, that's the fourth one. So Atom, XPRT, Tezos, and Cardano, correct?
Right. Yes.
Right. So those four are residual income, and I think those are fair projects that you mentioned. So how does that work precisely, and what do you like about it? Why do you think it's valuable?
Well, what I think is valuable is, okay, so this is now 2 cycles that I've been through where I hit 7 figures. Well, what do I do after the 7 figures in crypto? And how can I capitalize on that to where, let's say I have 1 Bitcoin and 1 Bitcoin is worth $500,000, for instance.
Next run.
I don't want to spend my entire Bitcoin on anything. I would rather have the residual income as spending money.
Right. That makes sense.
So that's the main purpose why I call it residual income, because yes, it does yield me a dividend. I have to sell it back to the exchange, but it's all done from within my own wallets. This isn't like I'm giving it to FTX or to Celsius or to Luna or anyone else. I have control of it. It's within my own wallet. That's the big difference. That's the huge difference. So with that,
so let's
why not?
Yeah, sorry.
Why not diversify from from okay, I've already acquired I've already reached a couple of goals in crypto. So how can I further that? You know,
Oh, I
because
get
like
that. So
right now I have
let's
no.
break it down. Let's break it down with a summary, if you would be so kind. Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is a topic of mine. We go a little bit more into depth now with investing, and I think it's nice that we're recording it because we can kind of hash it out. So I would love your opinion on the following. So one of the things that I'm looking at, and I haven't really made up my mind completely yet, is the order of execution of what projects will ramp up first, right? So hear me out. If compliance and legislation hits, or better yet, when it hits, it will hit before the bull run. It will hit before all-time high. And the all-time high, or higher highs, but at least all-time high, will probably be because of institutional money. So the instigators are your BlackRocks, Vanguards, Fidelities, Berkshire Hathaways, those type of people putting in probably trillions into this space, along with all the banks, etc. But trillions coming into the space. So when they start doing that, they can only do that with compliant coins in the beginning, which I think is Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. I would argue that Bitcoin is probably, because we're coming out of a bear market, is probably, and Bitcoin holds the value the best during the bear market. It's probably safe to say that the bull run will start with Bitcoin, like it always has. I think you would agree there, wouldn't you?
It depends. It might
I
not
know,
be
but
Bitcoin.
do you think it might? Yeah, I know, but like we can go into other projects
I
as
mean,
well. But
right? It
let me
might be
let me rephrase
XRP
it.
that it might
Wait,
be
wait,
XRP
Dave.
that sets it off. I
Let me
don't know.
rephrase. Yeah, yeah, but let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase my conclusion then, because I like where you're going, and you're probably right. Let me rephrase it. I would argue that Bitcoin has a good use case to be the first mover, but it's not the only one, right? But it is among them that could move. XRP could move first as well. I would argue that that would make sense, and I would argue that a wild card is probably something like Veritasium.
I would say the next after XRP is going to be Stellar, because if XRP, the Stellar is just a fork of XRP basically with half the supply and the same similar capability, but it's not between
But
from
it's a
bank to
different,
bank.
but it's a
Stellar
different
would
use
be
case.
more between smaller transactions. It's not going to be
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
the
But
financial
the
system.
smaller trends, yeah. But we're looking at it top down from like the institutional investors going down the chain of stores and
Right, they're going to see
enterprises and
who's
what have
been
you
on
not.
what
So
exchanges and for what amount of time.
yeah, but they own the stocks of all those companies, so they kind of decide who moves first.
Well, the Veritasium I could see when they try to do the tokenization of financial assets. I don't think that
Right.
all of that is going to rely on XRP and whatnot for
Right.
that.
So my point of argument is that I think the compliance to BlackRock, XRP is not part of those four coins that BlackRock has a spot ETF on, right? Because they kind of want to move through that exchange of Coinbase to have those four coins or one token Ethereum to put their money in first, right? I think that happens first, and it's government that puts money in XRP, I think, but it's institutional investors, corporations that put money in Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash. That's the way I look at it. I think CBDC's banks move towards XRP, but I think institutional money that actually hold, assets, commodities, stocks, especially in the way the shape that the economy is, they want to move their assets into immutable commodities. So I think it could jump both ways, but I think institutional investors have more money than the governments do, because the government has what, 2 trillion to spend. BlackRock has like 11.
Hmm.
So it's I think Bitcoin will outpace XRP. XRP could move earlier, but I don't think government will move earlier than BlackRock, because I think BlackRock knows this shit better than government, and they're actually advising government. So I don't think Congress is going to move before BlackRock does. I think BlackRock basically tells Congress what to do. I think that's the order of magnitude of, because BlackRock holds the assets of all the fucking rich people that own the government. So I would argue that Bitcoin moves because of that perspective that I have, that I just mentioned, is the reason that I think Bitcoin moves first.
Right.
But
And as far as the first, second, third, possibly, but the other thing is through osmosis, what are the returns on other projects?
yeah, but wait, we're gonna get there. So you get the osmosis, and that's okay. But but I don't want to talk about osmosis, because I want to talk about frog leaping between projects. Because osmosis is fine if you diversify in those things that we just mentioned, and then it happens organically in your wallet, and you still make a good profit. But the really big profit comes from the fact that if you can do like 2 zeros in Bitcoin, and then you can do, I don't know, 2 zeros in Digibyte or free, and then maybe you could do 2 zeros in Veritasium, and then maybe you could do 2 zeros in Freefold, and then maybe you can do 2 zeros in Dent, etc., etc. You could maybe, you could maybe blow it up
Right, but
completely in the next run.
in that
You could
instance,
you could
though,
you could become, if we get this right, Dave, you could potentially become the richest man in the world.
no, I don't agree with that. What I do
Potentially,
agree
you
with
could.
is you're saying like just 2 zeros. Well, I'm 2 zeros ahead in Bitcoin right now
Oh, don't
from
get
when
me
I
wrong,
got
but if
in.
you but let me say this. If you start out with, say, hypothetically, because it's easy to calculate from this. Say you start out with $1 million in fiat, $1 million, and you put that in Bitcoin at, I don't know, 25K. Humor me. Or maybe you did it at 15K, but let's say at 25K. And Bitcoin could move to 500K when BlackRock puts their shit in. And you
Well,
do a
and
20x.
just for anyone who's listening though, with the BlackRock, that's only 1% of one company, and it moves it to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
500,000.
Yeah, but
That's
humor
only
me.
1% of the
Yeah, but
assets
it's
under
just,
management.
I want to do a little bit of math here. So you go from 25K, you go to 500K Bitcoin, which basically means a 20x, and you started with 1 million, so now you have 20 million. And you could ride the wave of Bitcoin going from 500K maybe to 1 million, maybe to 1.5 million, fuck knows. And then it will increase even more. But if you would put your money after BlackRock, that's the initial shock. The rest will be shocks that will also be big, but smaller than BlackRock. And you would actually say, I'm going to go to, I don't know, Litecoin. And you see Litecoin exploding to what? From 60 that it is now to what? To 2,000? And you're going to get like a 35x?
Again, it depends. I mean,
I know, because it will.
from the initial shock, of something like that, I
Oh, no, wait, hear me out, Dave. Hear me out. There's a reason why I say Litecoin. Because the reason that I think it's Litecoin is because if you fill the blocks in Bitcoin, you're going to need Litecoin. So
correct.
it will be one day later. You got like 500K Bitcoin, and you notice, or maybe 400K, maybe even less, and you notice the blocks filling up, like too much at once. And that's when you move your Bitcoin out of it. Even though Bitcoin's still growing, you move it out of it and you go to Litecoin, because this is the time Litecoin's going to burst the fuck up. Like it's going to go back to the SATs it
Right,
used to
but
have.
keynote here though, when you do that, you have to pair it between BTC, LTC. That's what you want to trade, not the dollar
Yeah,
value.
sure. I
Because
know, but like
the
I
goal is
know, but I
to
use the.
acquire more
But
coins.
if
I
you,
know, I
you're
understand
right,
you
but
do, but for
you're
whoever's
complicating it
listening to
right now.
this, they need to know
Yeah,
that.
but I know you're right. We could do that at the end of it, but you're right. You should go with the pairing. But okay, BTC, LTC, you should go with the pairing. But the reason I say this is because I wanna talk about frog leaping with certain zeros from a fiat perspective,
Right,
because
you
otherwise
trade
people
the
don't understand it.
percentage move.
So the
So like if
right, but
Bitcoin to Litecoin is
yeah,
400 to 1, You trade
I
that
don't want to go in
400
it.
to 1 to where it's,
Yeah,
I don't know,
we're
100 to
going in
1.
another. We're going in another tangent, but let's go back to the beginning. So you move from 1 million BTC or $1 million in BTC to maybe, I don't know, 20x or maybe less. You move to $20 million in BTC. And then you do the next one with a 30x in LTC. And you go to 600 million. And then maybe if LTC is also filling up blocks, you do Digibyte. And you might get 100x. And you might go from 600 million to 60 billion. And you might not have that in the chain, so you have to trade it back immediately again. And maybe then you go to, I don't know, maybe some will already go to like Tezos or Cosmos or maybe you go to Veritasium because you know from an intellectual property point of view that you betcha that Reggie Middleton is going to do something about that DeFi when that blows up, and Greg Wright is going to attack it as well, because then the money is in the chain and the enterprises are actually holding it. So they're going to hold the enterprises accountable for violating the IP. So then you might move to Bitcoin, Satoshi Vision, Veritasium, and Cosmos, and maybe also Coinbase. And then when that blows up, people need on and off ramps that are compliant to get their money out. All of a sudden, you get an LCX blowing up. And you get maybe through LCX blowing up, you get a free fall blowing up, because then you get actually genuine Web3 global compliance, where those enterprises that are just being filed by those lawsuits from the IPs, they actually need a global compliant coin. And they might all go to DGMV. They might all go to Digibyte and be globally compliant. That could be a narrative.
Could be. And it could also be a narrative to take profit from crypto and put that into other equities that are involved in crypto. You know,
This
I
is the
totally
way.
agree with that.
This is the way that I look at it. What I'm going to try to do in the next run. These are the trades that I'm probably going to make. And after that, if the compliance hits, I'm going to hit it right down to compliance. So I'm going to go with proof of work, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and if Litecoin fills up, maybe Digibyte or Ravencoin or Doge. I don't think Digibyte yet, but a little bit. I'll have Digibyte, and I think after that we're going to go to enterprises having that money in. So then we're going to go to lawsuits from those 3 or 4 companies in crypto that hold all those IP legislations, like Reggie Milton, Greg Wright, Cosmos, Coinbase. And then I think the enterprises, the multinationals, actually have a use case to say, hey, we don't want to violate any IP. We need global compliance. And then you're going to look at global compliance, and you're going to look at exchanges that do global compliance. And that's when you're going to see LCX blowing up and DGMV blowing up, moving it from Ethereum to Digibyte. And you're going to see Digibyte blowing up. And if Digibyte blows up, Freefall blows up. So I think we can, for all those steps, you at least be able to get a zero. You could potentially, even if you start out with 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000, you could potentially make millions in the next run if you know what you're doing from a legislation point of view.
I mean, well, not even having to trade, even just owning the asset. That's what happened in 2017.
I know. Even if you own the asset, but
each $1,000 turned into $1 million in 2017.
Look. Dave, I'm going to do that anyways, but I'm also apart from that.
That's 3 zeros, and I see the same thing happening with this.
If I miss the bus, I'm going to have at least 3 zeros, but I'm going to try to get 6 or 7 zeros.
Yeah, but that's just froth on the top. That's just bragging rights. That I mean, 3
I don't know, but wouldn't it be?
3 zeros alone from here is ludicrous.
Dave, wouldn't it be a hell of a story?
It already is a hell of a story. It's been a hell of a ride to get to this point, from being a blind cookie boy.
Yeah, I know. But can you imagine if this is the actual cherry? Can you imagine? I think we're seeing it correctly, and I'm gonna have a go at it. And in the worst case, I see that my strategy is wrong, and at least I diversify it to the 3 zeros. That's the worst case scenario. Maybe 2 zeros, maybe 100x.
Right. You diversify into other assets. Don't just remain in crypto. That's what I'm doing anyway.
Yeah, of course. But after crypto rises, like commodities rise, I'm going to go to the stocks of the companies that actually built the infrastructure on the things we just invested in it. So it's just going to be your Ericssons, your Siemens, your Hewlett Packard, your Intel, your ASML, your TIMSC, your Nvidia, your Adobe, um, uh, maybe even some Apple stock, maybe Amazon. I think that will then become lucrative again, but to a lesser extent. And I'm probably going to make more money on those stocks than those residual income coins that you mentioned.
I disagree. And the reason why is because that money that is made is then going to want to earn some sort of yield. Well, I've been doing the yield thing now for a while. That's what I did this entire bear market. And I calculated up that, I mean, I'm over $100,000 just
So
when the
humor
market
me,
returns back to
humor me.
where it was.
I know,
I'm
but
over a
humor me
hundred
on one
thousand a
thing.
year, just as
I know,
and that's an extra 100,000 a year that I can either
so
reinvest in crypto or other
I know,
things or take cash. And I still haven't had to sell my one Bitcoin.
I know, but wait one sec. So why, if the entire world slowly adopts this, that's of course not a linear process, but that happens, right? Why would residual income still be in those projects and not in the actual banks?
Yeah, if you want to go into bonds and shit, go for it. But I don't want
No, no,
debt based
no,
on
no,
an
no, no, no,
asset based system.
no, no. I mean what I mean, Dave. I know you mean well, but if we say, for example, we get like this weird amalgamation of blockchain sorting out shit in finance on the short term, because the corruption kind of, moves away a little bit and we get more liquidity and more speed, and there's more money in the system, and that kind of frees up a lot of shit in society. Then why wouldn't banks be able to go to 7 or 10% interest rates again, right? And actually saving money, because people are going to go out of a debt-based society and credit card society. They would actually have to learn how to save money again and not spend more than their means. So banks would actually want to incentivize people that put their money on the bank. So why wouldn't residual income then come from your commercial or central banks instead of those projects you just mentioned? And I
Because
know
maybe
that
I
they are
want to,
better.
maybe some of what I, maybe because some of what I hold, I don't wish to show my nuts and to let them aware that that's where it's coming from. I would rather, I would rather, have that within my own wallet, and as I see fit to do that. I don't want them to know exactly what I hold. So I
That's
mean,
fair.
that's why I diversify into several wallets. I don't keep everything within one wallet. I may have 30 different digibyte wallets, you know, um, with a max cap of 200,000 digibyte in each. I don't know. Um, and same thing with Litecoin. I may only have one Litecoin per wallet. You know, I mean, why do I have to? There is no incentive to keep it all within one wallet. If one wallet is compromised, I don't want to lose it all.
I know what you're saying, and you're probably right. I just want to entertain the thought from different perspectives.
My
And
my
you're
my
right.
thing
That
is,
is
look,
what you are saying.
I
What you
see
are
and
saying is
understand.
better.
I see
So,
and
so,
understand your
so.
point.
No, but
I do,
what I want
and
to
I
say,
have that. Well, I
what I
have
want to
that
say.
set up already. I just wish to protect the
I
rest
know,
of what I hold.
I know. No, but so let's just. I'm going to summarize it a little bit before we go away. So, Bitcoin, Litecoin, maybe XRP when that move comes, intellectual property rights, which is like Veritasium, Cosmos, Coinbase, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. Enterprises are in trouble looking for global compliance because they just got sued and lost the lawsuits because of IP rights. And then we move to global compliance, which is like, I hate to say it, but it is definitely Digibyte, and it's definitely DGMV, and it's definitely Freefold. And then we do that through LCX exchange. And then we move to residual income. So then we move to what you just mentioned, which is also Cosmos, but also XPRT and Cardano and Tezos. And then the only thing that's left after the residual income is to move from those residual income coins that everyone will be in to like what projects have actual fundamental can be adopted by companies. That would probably at that point also be like your Dent and your the Theta. Um, I think those are then the type of, well, and AI coins will then boom, I think. And that will probably be the end of the cycle. So that's probably going to be it.
Right, and for all this to take place, I see that maybe more so of Theta and that of IP and whatnot, and I see a lot more of that in 2029 and the Dent
Well,
and that. So
hear me out,
I
Dave.
see more mass
Hear me out.
adoption
No, I don't.
coming in
I disagree.
29
I
for
disagree, and I disagree, and I disagree for the following reason. Once adoption hits in crypto because of legislation and regulation becoming mandatory, once that happens, the growth of adoption will outpace the 4-year cycle. So you're right about 2029, but I think we're just going to have a linear bull run in 2016, 17,
that could, but here's where I
26, 27.
disagree with that. Here's where I disagree with that. It's that, okay, with the whole CBDC and that coming about, okay, anytime you make any changes to software, other bugs, other things arise. Doesn't matter what software. It could be McAfee, it could be Digibyte, it could be Cosmos, whatever. Anytime there's an upgrade or a fork or soft, hard fork, doesn't matter. Anytime you change the software, other things always arise. And that's where I think that they're going to fuck up and have to do this twice with the whole CBDC. I
I
think that they're
agree,
going at it
I'm
half
not
cocked.
looking. I'm looking at a bigger fish. I'm
You're
looking at
giving government the benefit of the doubt, and
I'm
I don't see that.
no. That's not what I want to say. I'm looking at a bigger fish, which is Nostro Vostro accounts. So if compliance hits also among banks with the ISO 2022 standard, and they have interoperable cross-border payments not in 3 days but 3 seconds, then you don't have those Nostro Vostro accounts, which make up about 20 trillion, not pumping money from bank to bank that never comes down into the system. All of a sudden, that goes into the system. So all of a sudden, banks, pension funds, and enterprises, multinationals that actually hold that money, they actually can invest that money. So what would they do with those investments? Well, why wouldn't they put it into projects that are actually, growing and being applicable? Which is like your Dents and your Theta, but also I think your Freefold, which is more like Web3 based, obviously, but Theta is more XR VR based, and then you got like Dent, which is more telecommunications, probably also HBAR, and then you got those projects that directly tie into the hardware that these companies try to build, that directly tie into those smaller but also very significant parts of what requires a blockchain. And why wouldn't that, with Nostro Vostro money, like 20 trillion coming back into the economy, why wouldn't that outpace the actual cycle that we would normally have if we are on a fiat-based system? Mind you, we'll be on a CBDC system. So because that happens, we're going to get the CBDC that will onboard everyone overnight. I mean, so it just makes sense that we're going into like a boom.
Oh,
And
no doubt
I
it's
think,
going to be a boom, but I think the next boom coming after this one, I think this boom is actually going to surprise everyone. I agree with that with you, but the next one I think is just going to be Ludicrousville, where it's the mass
yeah,
adoption.
I agree there, but I think that we're not really going to see a 4-year cycle as much as we would normally do. I think we're going to see a much bigger 4-year cycle, like an absolute ramp up, like a rocket. And I would say that um, I would say that we'll probably be in the position where you would be buying like a stock of Amazon or Facebook when it originates. I mean that's where we'll be at the start of 2025. That will still be like the price. For us, it will already be ludicrous, but like it's only going to go up. It's going to go up even more. It's probably going to get three more zeros in the next 10 years after, which is a slower pace than we're used to with four
Right, but
years,
that's
but
still
it's still pretty good.
because right, but for where I come from, right? So I got in this in 2014, but I look at this as a 4-year cycle because it's been a 4-year cycle since 2009 at inception. Okay, when it does change, then I will agree to that, and that's exactly why I will never sell more than 50% of my portfolio during a cycle. So in
Well,
2025 during the peak of 25, I intend to sell close to 50% of my portfolio. And
the only reason,
then I intend to buy back in 27.
so let me tell you, the only reason that I think we could potentially move away from the 4 year cycle, and then I have to mute myself and open a different app because I just got an app, is if I think we're going to move away from the 4 year cycle, is if, and this is an if, not a when, if I'm of the coincidence theory opinion that the state and financial institutions don't really like Bitcoin, and they might want to flip it with something they control better. And that's why I think we might move away from a 4 year cycle, because the 4 year cycle is directly proportional to the influence of Bitcoin. And I think that it is a scenario that if we see a linear fashion growing up, or allowing the growth of the entire ecosystem of crypto blockchain to linearly grow instead of grow with a 4 year cycle, that means that institutional investors will probably pump in their money more into their own growth pattern instead of the 4 year cycle growth pattern that Bitcoin does or offers. And I would say that it's going to surprise a lot of people that if exchanges default and they buy up the exchanges, that I think they're going to be surprised with how much Bitcoin these institutional investors will actually own. I think they'll own a fuckload.
Right, but I'm just saying the way that I'm going to play this is still based on a 4-year cycle. And when I do that, I'm moving into other assets. I'm not just holding dollars. So, I mean, if
Dave,
I
I'm
want $1 million,
following.
if I want $1 million in gold, I'm just going to buy a monster box. That's 500 ounces of gold eagles or gold buffaloes. And, and here again, like what I was saying earlier with the residual income. Okay, well, when we go back to just where we were in 2021, I'm over $100,000 revenue. But if we go to the numbers that I project, that's like $15 million a year. I mean, that's like it worked out to like 1.25 a month would be my income, and like $40,000 a day. I mean, and that's just in residual income projects. That's why
Just a test. Can
no
you
one
still
else
hear
is
me?
looking at this yet. I don't know why. I mean, I could my mother and father, or my stepmother, mother dearest,
Can
and
you
my
hear
father
my
were in
mic?
insurance. Well, they were in insurance, and I had to grow up hearing all of everything about annuities and all of this kind of stuff. Well,
I
that's
know.
kind
I
of
know.
the route that I went this cycle.
Could you hear my mic? Can I check it? I
What's
just want
that?
to. I'm sorry. I am listening to your story. I hate to break it, but it's a housekeeping question. If I move apps on my phone, I kind of want to check if my mic still works. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Can you can you still hear me talk right now?
Yeah.
Great. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ah, no worries.
Go ahead. I just wanted to check it, and I'm sorry that I cut off your fire there with what your mom and pops were doing with the
No
insurance
worries. We'll
business.
rekindle it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, my family, nothing but insurance, so I look at residual income. That's a huge part to me. And then being disabled, I don't have the ability to go out and earn an income like most people. That's why I was so thankful just to be the blind cookie boy. And I knew that this was my only fucking shot to get ahead. So that's what I
Dave,
did. I threw all of it into crypto because I didn't need it to survive. That was the only
I know,
shot I
but
fucking had.
there is a certain possibility, Dave, and I don't know if I'm ready for it, but I hope it happens. But there's a certain possibility that uh, you're going to be filthy rich and I'm going to be rich.
Well, I mean, and you know, here again, I don't really care much for that word because rich to me means something totally different. So, I mean, money does not change who you are. You still feel the exact same when you wake up, when you go shuffle in your flip flops and go get your
What I
coffee in the
mean, no,
morning
no, what I mean,
and go out
what I
and step
mean,
outside and enjoy a
what,
smoke.
what, yeah, yeah, but what I mean is not from a financial perspective. I also mean that if we're right, it basically means that we're 2.5 years ahead of everyone.
Well, yeah, I agree with
So
that.
from a knowledge point of view, that would put us in an interesting situation. Don't you think that there are some people that would probably be like, who the fuck are these guys?
I would say in some aspects we would be closer to 8 years ahead of people.
How's that?
Well, by some of the ones that you mentioned earlier with threefold LCX and Digibyte and DGMV and, you know, yeah, a
Now
few
you're
things,
looking at
just as a coincidence theorist, you know?
you're looking at 2030, 35. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
that would be fucking nuts if Digibyte ever
Well,
makes it to a
that's my
thousand.
point. It's like no one's even looking at that yet.
Are we that early?
I think so. Either that or no one else is just paying attention and it's just, you know, buy my book, buy my course, and subscribe to my Patreon. You know, it's like it's a bunch of horse shit, in my opinion. It's just people trying, and then why don't they get paid in crypto? Why do they still get paid in dollars?
Yeah.
Is it that they haven't figured this out yet? That this is a different system all to itself?
Well, I think that one of the problems is that people don't study fundamentals.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's the real.
Look at what happened with all of the Celsius and everything else. It's like, wait a second. If it not your keys, not your coins. So if you don't hold it, it ain't yours. And if I can do residual income from within my own wallet without relying on any third party, you know, I mean, that those are the ones that most interest me. Um, not like a Luna or a Celsius or whoever, you know, to and you know, and earn rewards here. I don't care about earning rewards there. I'd rather hold what I have and do it myself. Same thing with Theta with a Guardian node. I earn T fuel and I stake the T fuel on top of staking the Theta, and then on top of the T drop. You know, so I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know what in the shit T drop does yet. I just know I own it.
Jesus Christ. I like that. Yeah, but Dave, I think we are constantly rehashing the same topic, but we're actually looking at different projects and we're respecting each project's strength. And I think that is a fair thing to not neglect. It's just why wouldn't you look at every single project, what it has to offer?
Well, that's why I don't understand the disconnect with these people. It's just, you know, Bitcoin or nothing. And I'm just like, no, Bitcoin can't do everything that is going to be
Because they
needed for
think they
society.
think that they think that being a Bitcoin maxi also is being defiant of government and it's being romanticized.
Well,
And it's
it
because,
was in the early days. I give them that.
well, yeah, but the world changed. I mean, the
Right.
world
Well,
changes.
and so did crypto. Crypto advanced from Bitcoin. That's the fucking point. Bitcoin is
Yeah,
not able to do the other things that these other crypto are able to do.
yeah. So where does that leave us?
Well,
It
again, it's
leaves
a
us.
network. I'm not saying that Bitcoin is nothing and nobody. I'm saying that Bitcoin will still exist. That's not the issue. The issue is who's going to be the Google of tomorrow instead of Netscape Navigator. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think we already know. We already know.
Well,
It's
again,
either it's
just
either it's either
as
it's
a
either
coincidence theorist, right?
it's either
So,
it's either XRP, but I doubt it, or Ethereum, or Digibyte. And I think that there's still a very big use case as well for Bitcoin, really, but not as big,
I
because I
agree.
think
Same
just
thing with Ethereum. How many transactions a second is that? 13? I mean, it doesn't even
yeah,
compare to what even Litecoin can do.
no, that's true, but it's just that's the whole thing that people don't
But
understand. If
yet
you're looking
again,
at
as far as in smart contracts, most people don't even
that's
realize that Digibyte
that
can do smart contracts.
I think that's the black swan event that people that are Bitcoin maximalists are not looking at. They are always citing Lightning Network that supposedly will be able to get like 1 million TPS, which is
Yeah, but
like a
that
good.
was the
It's
issue
like a
way
good
back when.
rival. It's like no, but it's
Even
like
with
a
Josiah,
rival. It's
Josiah
like
even offered. He
no,
was
no,
like, "Dude,
I don't. No, no. I mean,
Digibyte can
yeah,
actually
yeah.
help the Lightning Network. Lightning
No,
Network
no,
came
but
from Litecoin."
I know, but it's like what I'm trying to say is that if you look at on-chain metrics, and if you look at Lightning Network doing 1 million TPS, and from that angle of argument, you could state, well, then Bitcoin through Lightning Network is competitive with like Visa and MasterCard. Good point. However, if you put a middleman into it, like Lightning Network, which is not peer to peer, what you end up doing is having Lightning Network at some point being Strike having to be compliant
Yep.
globally from the fact that they're an enterprise, which has to deal with certain compliance issues that they put in the legislation for anti-money laundering and trading and know your customer. And
Yeah, and they
Strike will
also
say,
infringe on
and then
patent
Strike,
law.
and then Strike, yes, and then Strike will say, well, that's not the way we work. What a stupid government. And then the government says, well, yes, we might be, but here's a gun from Interpol on your head. Please shut down your server because you're
Right.
funding terrorists. And who's going to win? The gun through your brains or you as a martyr? You choose. And I think that that's the actual reality that we live in. That even if you make a great application on a philosophical great chain of Bitcoin, you're still going to need to comply when you're being confronted by integrating it into a society. And then all of a sudden, Strike is not on chain. Lightning Network is not completely on chain. And if it's not completely on chain, it has to comply to financial legislation. And I think it's a super naive position from Bitcoin maximalists that when they boast about the actual fundamental things that Lightning Network can offer, which, mind you, is a phenomenal thing, that I don't think it's sustainable in the long run because it's not going to be compliant globally. So enterprises won't use it.
Well, and additionally to that, the barrier to entry is ease of use. And basically all that they want to do is through a third party,
Yeah,
and off chain. Now,
it's
yes, it
not
will
it's not
settle
easy.
on chain a week later or whatever that
It's
may
not
be.
easy to build on it.
However,
It's not
well,
easy.
they're making it harder for people because now you have to download another app and transfer this and that, and the other person has to create a node and all this other shit. It's like, just keep it simple, stupid. That's it.
Yeah, but
Keep it
if the
simple,
back
stupid.
end
Use what
if the back
works. And and,
yes,
and Lightning Network has got a shit ton of issues. It does.
but if the
And
back end is too difficult to code upon, if the back end is too difficult, what happens is that enterprises won't build on it.
my thing is you take me back to 2014 and you tell me that it's third party and off chain, you'd have ended up with a fat lip. You'd have been kicked out the room completely if you'd have said anything like that. But yet now it's, you know, now I hear it fucking grows hair. I mean, fuck. What?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know,
I mean, Digibyte even offered to help fix the Lightning Network way back when. But, same thing, whatever. Pride gets in the way, or, nose too high in the air, or whatever it may be. But
yeah,
whatever, y'all go figure it out then. So, and you see other places like El Salvador and, different other places that use it. And, then they end up with a shit ton of issues. Well, I mean, now what? So the other chains
now
work. They work. There is no. I just completely disagree with Lightning Network. I just fundamentally do.
that's okay.
Um,
I think it's here to stay, but I think eventually it's going to be the downfall of Bitcoin maximalists because it's not going to be globally compliant. Like if the forces, the powers that be on a state and institutional level don't want Bitcoin eventually taking over, they're just going to create a game where they change the rules as they go, like they always have, and they're just going to out compliance Lightning Network. They're just going to say that it's just not going to be viable to do that with a proof of work. They're going to put a
yeah.
burden of responsibility on them. And I think that that's something that puts Jack Mahler in a that's his name, right? In a bit of a conundrum on what to do. And I think at the end of the day, no one is a big bad boy with a big mouth if the police show up your door,
Yeah.
because that's just the way that they want to do it. I mean, that's the society. They say, yeah, we shape society. You don't. You're just another financial institution. You don't get to say shit about what we do here. And I think that that's the mistake that many Bitcoiners make, that they would argue, well, we decide what's best for society. We know it all. And you're competing with these families that have been doing that for centuries. And they created a plan and they're going to stick with their own plan. It's not that complicated, I think. And yeah, I just think people are too naive in general.
Oh, and not only that, like a few other things with these Bitcoin maxis is, they dog on other projects, but it doesn't. I don't. I don't understand why they don't grasp. Okay, look, well, you want to. What they have no exposure even to XRP or XLM or anything else, only Bitcoin, and it's like, why not just take a stab, a little portion, a percentage, and they'll say, oh, it's centralized and whatnot. My thing is what the fuck do you think CBDCs are? Okay, and if I have to show my nuts, I would rather spend that first and protect and secure my Bitcoin, my Litecoin, my Digibyte for later. If that's
Yeah,
what moves, that's what gets spent. It's just Gresham's law.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I would
And
rather protect my other assets and only let what I want them to know, is there, and that's it. The rest of it, no one knows who, what, when, where, or why. So, and it's all diversified. It's all gone.
yeah.
So,
So either we are nutcases that want to be delusional and are having confirmation bias, or we are really seeing it clearly and they aren't.
well, and think of the word intelligence, right? For military, and all the alphabet soups and everything else. You don't think that they think about shit like this and how they can gain the system and all, and what the fuck is really going on? And
I've always said that at the end of the day, any sort of form of infrastructure is defense. So is a defense contract.
It just makes sense. Again, if I got to show my nuts, I'm going to spend what I want them to see. And if they already see that because it is involved with CBDCs, then so be it. I'll use that first and I'll protect all the others. But, will I still hold on to it? Absolutely. My goal is not to spend my crypto. My goal is just to acquire. I mean, for me, it's too soon to spend crypto. I mean, even still, and I was in 2 zeros again ago in the Bitcoin. So and now you're going to compound it from here, 3 zeros this cycle. I mean, at least that's what I expect. I mean, but here again, I still think we don't know. I mean, this could absolutely surprise every fucking body. Like we just said, I mean, fuck, 1% of one company, and it's just BlackRock, gives you $500,000 Bitcoin. What happens when Vanguard and T. Rowe Price and all of these others get involved? Fidelity. I mean, but we already know some of them are already here. But it's like, where do you think this goes when they can actually package this and present this to their clients? Not only their creme de la creme, but not only their upper echelon clients, but or how would you say, accredited investor status. I mean, now you'll be able to go into the bank and buy Bitcoin. Wouldn't that be some shit? Or if they want you to just buy the CBDC or XRP or XLM, or can you just convert that? And I intend on converting that. Like for my Social Security disability check, right? If they issue that to me in a CBDC, I'm good with that. I'm going to spend that first. And it's just Gresham's law, in my opinion, with all of this. And, back to Bitcoin and the Lightning Network, like I said, you just made shit more difficult for people. I mean, it's just, people are not going to go to, my 84-year-old mother, dearest, she is not going to know how her transaction went through. She's just going to care that it did. That's it. And what works? Ooh, excuse me. Oh, man. You there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So I just yeah. I might go off in a little bit. Don't know yet.
We've kind of been rambling for an hour and a half, or I'm sorry, an hour and 5 minutes anyway. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Oh.
Take it wherever we want to go. I mean, I got an open schedule. I have nothing matters to me.
That's cool, man. I think that we already covered quite a lot of things, so that's good.
Well, I'll say a few other things though, like different things that are going on in my head, right? So, like with family and friends and everything else, I was thinking about it, and you just say in theory, right? You get $10 million.
Sure.
Now the family finds out that you're worth $10 million, and
Sure.
they got their hand out for $1 million. Oh, well, I'm your cousin, I deserve $1 million.
Why is that? Why is that a
That's my
problem?
point. Why do I owe them a fucking thing? Any of them, honestly.
Well,
Any of them. And the reason why is because 1 million out of 10 million is 10%. Okay, well, When was the last time any of them? I mean, they make what? I don't know, say 80,000 a year. When was the last time they gave me $8,000 just because I was their fucking cousin? Never.
Well, again, Dave, it depends. Maybe not in your direct family, and I would argue in most families it doesn't happen. But there are people that have always been there, that had some people's backs. Like, I know them. It didn't happen in my life, so I don't have to own anyone anything.
Right, but my thing
Um,
is just like I ain't even seen these people in 30 fucking years.
there's only three people that I eventually.
Some of them damn near 40 years. Since I was 7 years old. I mean, I don't know you.
Right. Well, there's only three people in my life, like physical people, that I would tell.
Well, and that's just it. I don't think I'm gonna say a fucking thing. I think I'm just gonna use attorneys and create an S corp and create other entities by use of the attorney under the umbrella of the trust, and then just form a board. And then only those people within crypto that I trust as the board members would be able to see and approve anything that happens for different other things.
Yeah.
Like say I set something up for the family where they have a drug problem, right? And at least they have
Okay.
the option to go to rehab by applying to the board. And you only get like 2 shots at it. But I wouldn't even tell them that. You got 1 shot and it'd be stressed at 1 shot. But anyway,
Sure.
just to set something up like that. However, they have to go to the attorney and then, to the board for a decision, yay or nay, or they want to
Hmm.
start a business because, with different things within it, like if they want to start a business, I don't want you to start a fucking candle business, you know, or or building furniture that in the driveway, I don't want that. Um, I want them to do something a little differently. But and again, do you have 5 years in the field, and have different things set up like that they have to then go and apply to the board, and the board gives the yay or nay, not me.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because think about it, where we come from in crypto as investors, we dig in, we dive, we find different projects and whatnot, and we're investors in this
Hmm.
technology. Well, so
Yeah.
we're used to looking at business and we're used to tearing them apart and going through their financials and whatnot. Gee whiz, somebody's racing. But anyway, so who else better to analyze other business opportunities, right? Like how many have we had come up to us, ask, well, all I need is $10,000 and I can start a business. You're not starting a business for less than 100 grand. I'm sorry. I
Well,
mean,
it
it's
all
just
depends.
it's just complete
It
bullshit.
it all depends on what society is going to do. If we have a CBDC, we're going to see a complete change in socioeconomics. I don't even oversee what's going to happen.
Right. But I was saying, as far as trying to set something up for the family
I
in
know.
different aspects, because look, I'm not just gonna look, they can come kill me tomorrow and not be able to get it.
Right.
So I don't want my family to know what at that point, if things happen in such manner as what we spoke of, I don't want the family to know, oh, that, we'll just off him and just go take whatever we can get. We'll steal his computer and go, get all the information off of his computer. This is fucking crypto. It's cryptography. You think it's just fucking stored? And I mean, it don't work that way.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I
Fair
mean,
enough.
you need passwords and all kinds of other shit. You need, private keys. You even have to have the right device, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you just steal my computer, you get nothing. You're stupid. But you wouldn't know that because even all the videos that I take from YouTube and whatnot and send to them, it's like, did you listen to the video? No. Okay, well, why the fuck you asking me then? Go listen to the fucking video.
Yeah, but here's the
I
thing,
already
Dave.
sent different
Dave,
things to them, and they don't have a care in the
Dave,
fucking world, and they just want me
Dave,
to be their fucking bookie or their agent or
Dave,
what or their
Dave,
their financial advisor. And it's like, fuck you, you're on your own. I'll
Dave.
show you what to do and how to do it, but I refuse to do it for
Mm,
you.
Dave, what you are saying though, and I think you should take that into account if you want to, is that from a certain perspective, you cannot blame people from not understanding this technology if they're not a pioneer or an early adopter. If you catch my drift.
Yeah, it's just frustrating when they
They're just stupid,
oh,
Dave.
he's just lucky. No, it's not luck. I
Yeah,
can show
but
you what to do. They don't even
the
know
problem
anything.
is the problem isn't the fact what they know. The problem is that they want something without knowing the gravity of it all.
Right, but they hadn't even come asking. It's like I've offered and
They'll
whatnot.
never
Doesn't
they'll
even
never
interest them. They'd rather
it's
just
an
beer
it's
and football, and it's like fuck you, whatever.
it's an abyss, Dave. Don't look for things that aren't there. I hate to be like maybe a negative Nancy or something like that, but I would argue that it's not really you shouldn't get your hopes up for what they might or might not understand. You know, I think your assessment is pretty fair, but it doesn't really make sense to aggravate yourself about it. It's
Well,
just
and
it's
that
probably
that's
going to
been an
happen because
issue for
people
me.
are
It's like,
people.
who the fuck do I give this to?
Well, I already gave you my answer.
Well, I'm saying in my case, I mean, how do I will
I know.
this to anyone? And it's like, I mean, they have no desire, they don't care. It's just like, so everything that I do, you're just gonna fucking blow it anyway.
Right. So, Dave, make some kids. You know, just saying. Fix your health, get a family going, do it yourself, raise your kids the way they should be. And then problem solved.
Well, and that's been a major thing with me is that's the major reason why I never had children because I had an awesome childhood. The stuff my parents did for me, there's absolutely no fucking way I could give my child the childhood that I had growing up,
Well,
without a doubt.
I
And
would
and
tell
so
you
that
one other
always
thing.
stopped me. That always
Well,
prevented me.
Dave, it's not about a dick measuring contest with your parents. Plus, you also don't know what type of woman you'll meet. You know, you might find a woman that's even better than your own mother.
Well, that's to me would be beside the point. As far as a child being involved, it would be being able to do whatever, whenever, like what I had growing up, and it's just
Yeah, I'm not saying you should, but it's something to contemplate. I don't think it's something to shoot off in a day, but I also don't think you should pursue it within a day. But it's a thought that you can have marinating in your head. It's an option that you could think, well, could be vital.
I
You
don't
know,
know. Here in the U.S., dude, it's like women just they're fucking
I know.
delusional.
Oh, it's not just the U.S.
It's bad here,
Maybe
dude.
if you maybe you can turn the recording off and I can share a few things privately.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah. I just don't understand it. Well, I take that back. I do understand that she won't be from the United States. That's about as simple as I can put it.
Well, either that or she just joined the country.
What's that?
Either that or she just immigrated to the country.
Yeah.
So
I
is
don't
the
know.
recording off, or are
Be
you
like
still
a
recording?
no, I'm still recording. I'm about to turn it off. But yeah, it's be like what is it? Eddie Murphy, you know, with Fufu. Just can't
Yeah,
speak a
yeah.
damn lick of English, you know. Half. You want
Half,
half for what?
half, Eddie.
Right.
I don't
And
see a ring on
and
the
and,
finger.
and that's the beauty of a trust. If
Phenomenal.
it's held within trust, you know, it's like for me, that's like a whole
Yeah, yeah.
different prenuptial agreement. Because me personally, under my social security number, I look poor, but the trust is not.
No, I know.
So, you know, like, you know, what would a woman get if she married me, the person? Nothing. And same thing with
That's
other
not true.
creditors or
That's not.
whatever. I
That's
mean,
not.
you know,
That's not.
they cannot garnish my disability income. I mean, and I'm just scratching my
No,
head
but
at this. I'm like, this is a
you just
better, the trust is an actual better way than a prenuptial agreement. I'm not saying
sure.
that I wouldn't
Look,
put a
look.
prenuptial agreement in front of the
Only when
woman,
you
but
stop only when you stop the recording will I have an opinion on it.
right on, man. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. We've been going for an hour and 18 minutes anyway. And for whoever's listening, we're just going to end this here and we're going to have our own private conversation from here. We've already dropped a lot for y'all to uncover and go back and maybe listen 2 or 3, 5 times because a lot was said here. And, you know, it's, you know, something else. Subscribe to the damn channel. I mean, I get all kinds of views, but no one's subscribing. And it's kind of obvious, you know. And then I look at the numbers and it's like I see that, you know, one video's got like 100 views. And then I look back at it and it's got 80. And it's like, how the fuck does this happen? You know? So, you know, I don't know. Maybe do like what Rice does to all of his subscribers. You know, hit the like button, unsubscribe.
Or
Wait,
or there or
hold on. Let me land this. So unsubscribe, resubscribe, and hit the like button to try to play with the fucking with Al Gore's rhythm, right?
that could work. So there you heard it. Let's
All right,
boost.
but
Let's
anyway,
boost this channel up.
yeah, I'm about to end it here. But yeah, anyway, hope y'all re-listen. Y'all be cool. Later.